I never believed in fate until the day my car broke down on 7th Avenue, 3 blocks from my ex-boyfriend's engagement party. The irony wasn't lost on me. After 2 years of my life wasted on Derek, he was marrying someone else in less than 4 hours, and my ancient Honda had chosen this exact moment to sputter, choke, and die in the middle of rush-hour traffic. Horns blared behind me as I wrestled the steering wheel to the curb, my hands trembling with equal parts rage and humiliation. I couldn't show up alone. Not to this. My sister's voice echoed in my head. "Elena, just don't go. You don't owe him anything." But she didn't understand. Derek had paraded his new fiancée perfect, polished, everything I apparently wasn't in front of our entire social circle for months. I needed to walk in there with my head high, my dress stunning, and a man on my arm who made Derek choke on his overpriced champagne. Instead, I was stranded in a neighborhood I didn't recognize, my phone at 12% battery, and my carefully applied makeup starting to run in the oppressive August heat. The garage appeared like a mirage. Romano's Auto Repair. The sign was weathered, the building tucked between a closed laundromat and a dim Italian restaurant that looked like it hadn't seen customers since the 90s. But the bay door was open, and I could see movement inside a figure bent over the hood of a sleek black car that probably cost more than my yearly salary. I grabbed my purse and stumbled out in my heels, already regretting every decision that had led me here. "Hello?" My voice cracked slightly as I stepped into the shadowed garage. The scent of motor oil and something darker leather, maybe smoke, hit me immediately. "Is anyone available? My car just died and I really need help." The figure straightened slowly, and my breath caught. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that strained against a black t-shirt stained with grease. Dark. Hair fell across his forehead, slightly too long, framing a face that belonged on a movie screen rather than under a car hood. Sharp jawline. Piercing eyes that seemed to catalog every inch of me in a single burning glance. A small scar cut through his left eyebrow, giving him an edge that made my pulse skip. But it was his hands that held my attention. Large, capable, streaked with oil, and wearing a watch that probably cost more than my car had when it was new. "You picked an interesting time to break down," he said, his voice low and rough, like gravel wrapped in velvet. There was an accent there, faint. Italian, maybe, that made every word sound deliberate, dangerous. "I know. I'm sorry. I gestured helplessly toward the street. "I have somewhere I need to be in a few hours. And I don't know this area, and..." "Where do you need to be?" The question was simple, but the way he asked it, direct, commanding, like he was used to getting answers, made me hesitate. "A party. An engagement party." I swallowed hard. "My ex-boyfriend's engagement party." One dark eyebrow rose slightly. "And you're still going?" "I have to. No one has to attend their ex's wedding festivities." "You don't understand." The words came out sharper than I intended, frustration bleeding through. "I can't show up alone. Not after everything. I trailed off, realizing how insane I was about to sound. He tilted his head, studying me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. "You need what?" The garage suddenly felt smaller, warmer. His presence was magnetic in a way I couldn't explain, like standing too close to a live wire, knowing you shouldn't touch but unable to step back. "I need someone to come with me," I heard myself say. "Just for a few hours. Pretend to be my boyfriend. Make it look like I've moved on. Like I'm fine." The silence that followed was suffocating. Then, impossibly, the corner of his mouth lifted. Not quite a smile. Something more. Dangerous. "You're asking me to be your fake boyfriend." "Yes." I lifted my chin, trying to salvage whatever dignity I had left. "I'll pay you. Whatever your hourly rate is, I'll double it, triple it. I just need..." "How much time do you have?" I blinked. "What?" "Before the party. How much time?" 3.5 hours. Maybe 4 if traffic is decent. He glanced at the car behind him, sleek, expensive, clearly not a vehicle that belonged in a neighborhood garage, then back at me. Those dark eyes held something I couldn't read. Amusement? Calculation? Something that made warning bells ring faintly in the back of my mind. "I'll make you a deal," he said, wiping his hands on a rag and stepping closer. He moved like a predator, all controlled power and deliberate grace. "I'll go with you. Play the devoted boyfriend. Make your ex regret every stupid decision he ever made." Hope flared in my chest. "Really?" "On one condition." "Of course. What condition?" He stopped inches away, close enough that I could smell the faint scent of expensive cologne beneath the motor oil, close enough to see the flecks of amber in his dark eyes, close enough that my heart hammered against my ribs like it was trying to escape. You don't ask questions. Not about me. Not about what I do. Not about why a mechanic drives a car worth more than this building. His voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. You take what I'm offering, and you don't look too deep. Every instinct screamed that I should walk away, that there was something wrong here, something dangerous lurking beneath that handsome face and easy offer. But I was desperate, and he was looking at me like I was the most interesting thing he'd seen in years. Deal, I whispered. His smile widened sharp and wolfish. Good. Then let's make your ex wish he'd never let you go. He reached for a leather jacket hanging nearby, shrugging it on with fluid grace. One more thing, Karamia. What? What's your name? Elena. Elena. Cross. He extended his hand, and I took it without thinking. His palm was warm, calloused, and the moment our skin touched, electricity shot up my arm. Dante, he said simply. Just the one name. No last name offered. Now let's go ruin someone's evening. As he led me toward that sleek black car, his hand settling possessively on the small of my back, I realized I'd just made a deal with a man who held secrets like weapons, and I had no idea what I'd just unleashed. The car was a work of art. Dante opened the passenger door of what I now recognized as a Maserati, and I hesitated for only a heartbeat before sliding into leather seats that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The interior smelled like expensive cologne and danger, a combination I was quickly realizing defined the man now settling into the driver's seat beside me. You're not really a mechanic, are you? The words escaped before I could stop them. He turned the key, and the engine purred to life, a low, throaty sound that vibrated through my entire body. You agreed not to ask questions, Elena. The way he said my name, slow, deliberate, with that faint Italian accent curling around each syllable, made my stomach flip. That wasn't the deal, I countered, trying to sound braver than I felt. You said not to ask about what you do or why you have this car. I'm asking about what you're not. His lips curved into something that might have been amusement. Clever. So, he pulled onto the street with the kind of confidence that came from a man who'd never questioned his right to take up space in the world. I own the garage. Among other things. Other things. Other things, he confirmed, offering nothing more. We drove in silence for several blocks, the city blurring past my window. I should have felt afraid. Should have demanded he pull over and let me out. Should have called my sister or an Uber or literally anyone who wasn't a mysterious stranger with secrets in his eyes and a car that screamed money and power. Instead, I felt alive. Tell me about him, Dante said suddenly, his voice cutting through my spiraling thoughts. Who? The ex, Derek. He said the name like it tasted bitter. What kind of man lets a woman like you walk away? Heat crept up my neck. What makes you think he let me walk away? Maybe I left him. Did you? The question hung in the air between us, sharp and uncomfortable. No, I admitted quietly. He left me. For his assistant. Cliché, right? Apparently I was too independent. Too focused on my career. Not soft enough. The words tasted like ash. Translation. I didn't worship the ground he walked on. Dante's hands tightened on the steering wheel, and I noticed for the first time that his knuckles were scarred. Old wounds, faded but visible. Then he was a fool. You don't even know me. I know enough. He glanced at me, and the intensity in those dark eyes made my breath catch. I know you walked into a stranger's garage in a neighborhood you don't know, desperate enough to ask for help but proud enough to offer payment. I know you're going to face a room full of people who will judge you, and you're doing it anyway. That takes spine. Or stupidity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Despite everything, I laughed. The sound surprised us both. There, Dante said, something softening in his expression. That's better. You should laugh more. It suits you. We pulled up to a stoplight, and I took the opportunity to really study him. In the fading sunlight, he looked like something carved from marble, all sharp angles and dangerous beauty. But there was something else, too. Something in the way he held himself, the way his eyes constantly scanned our surroundings, like he was always looking for threats. Can I ask you one thing? I ventured. You just did, Dante. One thing, he conceded. Then we focus on making you look irresistibly happy. Why did you agree to this? You don't know me. You could be. doing literally anything else with your evening. Why help me?" The light turned green, but he didn't move immediately. Instead, he turned to face me fully, and the weight of his gaze was almost physical. "Maybe I like the idea of playing hero for a night," he said softly. "Or maybe I just wanted an excuse to spend time with a beautiful woman who doesn't know who I am." "Who are you?" His smile was sad. "Dangerous. Someone you shouldn't get too close to, Kara." Before I could respond, he accelerated through the intersection, and the moment shattered. "Now," he said, his voice returning to that commanding tone. "Tell me everything I need to know. Derek's weaknesses, your shared history, what will hurt him most." I blinked at the sudden shift. "What? If I'm going to be your boyfriend, I need to sell it. That means knowing exactly what buttons to push." He glanced at me. "Unless you want to show up and simply exist. But that won't make him regret losing you. That won't make him choke on his expensive champagne and wonder what the hell he was thinking." He was right. God help me. He was absolutely right. So I told him. About Derek's jealousy whenever other men looked at me. About his obsession with status and appearances. About how he always needed to be the most successful person in any room. About his new fiancée, Bethany, who was everything soft and agreeable that I apparently wasn't. Dante listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with every detail. "He sounds like a child," he finally said. "He's a corporate lawyer." That's what I said. Another surprised laugh escaped me, and I realized with sudden clarity that I'd laughed more in the last 30 minutes with this stranger than I had in the last 6 months of my relationship with Derek. "So what's the plan?" I asked. Dante's smile turned predatory. "The plan is simple. I'm going to touch you. A lot. Hand on your back, arm around your waist, fingers brushing yours." His voice dropped lower. "I'm going to look at you like you're the only person in the room. Like I can't wait to get you alone. Like I'm one word away from tasting that mouth." My breath hitched. "That's very specific." "I'm a details man, Elena." He pulled into an upscale shopping district I recognized. "But first, we need to make you feel like the goddess you are. That dress you're wearing is lovely, but it's not going to make Derek weep into his scotch. I don't have time to—" "You do now." He parked with casual precision in front of a boutique whose window display probably cost more than my car had. "I know the owner. We'll be in and out in 20 minutes. Dante, I can't afford. Consider it part of the deal." He was already out of the car, moving around to open my door with the kind of old-fashioned courtesy that felt dangerously seductive. "Besides, what kind of boyfriend would I be if I didn't spoil you?" He offered his hand, and I stared at it at those scarred knuckles and that expensive watch, and knew with absolute certainty that I was about to cross a line I couldn't uncross. I took his hand, and as his fingers closed around mine, warm and possessive and impossibly gentle, I wondered if maybe I'd been wrong about fate. Maybe I'd walked into that garage for a reason. Maybe the universe had sent me a devil in designer clothes. As we stepped toward the boutique, Dante leaned close enough that his breath warmed my ear. "One more thing, cara mia." "What?" "When we walk into that party tonight," his voice was silk over steel, "you're not going to be pretending." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" But he was already pulling me inside, and the wicked smile on his face told me everything and nothing at all. I'd asked a stranger to be my fake boyfriend. I just hadn't realized he'd already decided to make it real. The boutique was the kind of place I'd only ever window shopped at, all crystal chandeliers, velvet settees, and price tags that required several commas. A woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine glided toward us, her expression shifting from polite professionalism to genuine warmth the moment she saw Dante. "Mr. Salvatore?" she purred, her accent French and elegant. What a delightful surprise. Salvatore? So now I had a last name. Not that it helped, I'd never heard of him. Isabel. Dante's hand remained on the small of my back, possessive and warm through the thin fabric of my dress. "I need you to work your magic. We have less than 20 minutes. Isabel's sharp eyes assessed me with the precision of a surgeon. "For the lady? Of course." She circled me slowly, and I felt like prey being evaluated. Petite frame, beautiful bone structure, gorgeous hair. "What's the occasion?" "Revenge," Dante said simply. Isabel's red lips curved into a knowing smile. "My favorite kind of dress shopping." She snapped her fingers, and 2 assistants materialized from the back. "Come, darling. Let's make someone very, very sorry." Before I could protest, I was being swept into a luxurious dressing room, while Isabel barked orders in rapid French. Dresses appeared midnight blue, crimson red, emerald green, each more stunning and expensive looking than the last. The blue? I heard Dante call from somewhere beyond the curtain. "Show me the midnight blue." My cheeks burned. "You're not supposed to humor me." The assistants helped me into a dress that felt like liquid silk against my skin. It was midnight blue, almost black in certain light, with a neckline that plunged just enough to be daring without being scandalous. The fabric hugged every curve before flowing down to mid-thigh. And when I turned, I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. I looked powerful, dangerous, beautiful. "Let him see," Isabel urged, already pulling back the curtain before I could protest. Dante stood 20 feet away, leaning against a display counter with the casual elegance of a man born to luxury. But when his preed eyes found me, all that casual ease vanished. He straightened slowly, his gaze traveling from my heels to my face, with an intensity that made my skin prickle with heat. The air between us crackled with something electric, something I didn't have a name for. "Perfect," he said, his voice rougher than before. "We'll take it." "Dante, I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything, Elena." He moved closer, and I forgot how to breathe. "I'm choosing to. There's a difference." Isabel cleared her throat delicately. "Shoes? Jewelry? Everything," Dante said, never taking his eyes off me. "Make her unforgettable." The next 15 minutes were a blur of strappy heels, delicate gold jewelry, and Isabel's expert hands styling my hair into soft waves that cascaded over one shoulder. She touched up my makeup, adding a deeper shade to my lips that made them look fuller, more kissable. When she finally stepped back, satisfied with her work, I stared at my reflection and barely recognized myself. "He won't be able to look away," Isabel whispered, something almost maternal in her voice. "And neither will anyone else." Dante appeared behind me in the mirror, and the sight of us together, him in his dark clothes and dangerous elegance, me transformed into someone bolder and more confident, looked like something out of a movie. "Ready?" he asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He paid with a black credit card I didn't get a good look at, and Isabel packaged my old dress with the kind of care usually reserved for precious artifacts. As we left, she squeezed my hand. "Whatever he did to you, chérie, he wasn't worthy," she said quietly. "This one, though?" She glanced at Dante. "He's dangerous, but perhaps that's exactly what you need." Back in the Maserati, the city lights had begun to glow against the darkening sky. We had 30 minutes until the party, and my heart hammered against my ribs with a mixture of anticipation and terror. "Thank you," I said, softly, "for all of this. I'll pay you back. I don't know how, but I will." Dante's jaw tightened. "I don't want your money, Elena." "Then what do you want?" He was quiet for a long moment, his hands gripping the steering wheel like he was fighting some internal battle. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "To see you smile when you walk out of that party knowing you won." Something in my chest cracked open. "Why are you being so kind to me? You don't even know me." "Maybe that's exactly why." He glanced at me, and there was something haunted in his expression. "You don't know who I am, what I've done. You look at me and you just see a man. Not a name, not a reputation, just me. Should I know who you are?" His laugh was bitter. "If you knew, you'd run. Smart women usually do." "I'm not running." "You should." The tension in the car was suffocating. Every instinct told me to press, to demand answers, to understand what shadows lurked behind those dark eyes. But something held me back. Maybe it was the way he'd looked at me in that dress. Maybe it was the gentleness in his touch, despite the danger I sensed coiled beneath his skin. Or maybe I just didn't want to shatter whatever strange magic had woven itself around us in the last hour. "Tell me the plan again," I said instead, changing the subject. "When we walk in." Dante's expression shifted, the haunted look replaced by something predatory and focused. "We walk in together. I keep you close. We're comfortable with each other like we've been together for months. When he sees you, I want you to smile. Not at him, at me. And then I make sure every man in that room wishes he was me, and every woman wishes she was you." His voice dropped lower. "And your ex will realize he threw away something irreplaceable. That's a lot of confidence. I don't do anything halfway. Kara." We pulled up to the venue, an elegant hotel I recognized from countless society page photographs. Valettes, stood at attention, and through the gleaming glass doors, I could see the party already in full swing. My hands started to shake. Dante noticed immediately. He reached across the center console and covered my trembling fingers with his own, his touch warm and steadying. "Breathe," he commanded softly. "You're not the same woman who walked into that garage. You're not the woman he left. Tonight, you're untouchable, powerful, mine." The last word sent a shiver down my spine. "Dante, trust me, Elena. Can you do that?" I met his eyes and saw something there that made my heart skip determination. Yes, but also something deeper. Something protective and possessive and impossibly intense. "Yes," I whispered. He lifted my hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to my knuckles that felt like a brand. Like a promise. Like a declaration of war. "Then let's go remind Derek what a mistake looks like." As we stepped out of the car and he tucked me against his side, his arm around my waist like I belonged there, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't afraid of facing Derek anymore. I was afraid of how right it felt to be in Dante Salvatore's arms, and how much I didn't want this night to end. The moment we stepped through those glass doors, every eye in the room turned toward us. Or maybe they turned toward Dante. He moved through the crowd like royalty, no. Like something more dangerous than that. Like a predator who knew he owned the space simply by existing in it. His hand remained firmly on my waist, and I could feel the eyes tracking us, whispers starting to ripple through the elegantly dressed guests. "Who is that? I've never seen him before. Is that Elena? She looks incredible." The validation should have felt sweet. Instead, my heart was hammering so hard I was sure Dante could feel it. "Breathe," he murmured against my ear, his breath warm and steadying. "You're doing perfectly." The ballroom was stunning, all cream and gold, with crystal chandeliers casting soft light over the crowd. A string quartet played in the corner, and waiters circulated with champagne that probably cost more per glass than my car payment. This was Derek's world. Money, status, appearances. And then I saw him. Derek stood near the bar in a designer tuxedo, his arm around Bethany, blonde, petite, smiling that practiced smile that never quite reached her eyes. He looked exactly the same, handsome in a conventional way, confident, completely unaware that his world was about to tilt. Until he saw me, I watched the recognition flash across his face, followed immediately by shock. His eyes widened, his grip on Bethany's waist loosening as he took in my transformation. The dress, the hair, the man beside me who made every other person in the room look like they were playing dress-up. "That's him?" Dante asked quietly, following my gaze. "Yes." The sound was low, dismissive. I expected more. Despite my nerves, I nearly laughed. Dante's hand slid lower on my waist, pulling me closer against his side. "He's coming over. Remember what I told you. Look at me, not him." "Dante, Elena." He turned me slightly so I faced him, his other hand coming up to cup my jaw with a gentleness that made my breath catch. "You're mine tonight. Act like it." Before I could process what he meant, Derek's voice cut through the moment. "Elena, I didn't think you'd come." Dante's thumb brushed across my cheekbone once before he released me, turning to face Derek with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He kept his arm around my waist, keeping me anchored against him. "Derek," I said, pleased my voice came out steady. "Congratulations. Beautiful venue." Derek barely glanced at the room. His eyes were fixed on me, then shifting to Dante with something that looked like confusion, mixed with was that jealousy? "Thank you. I'm glad you could make it." His tone suggested otherwise. "I don't believe we've met. I'm Derek Chen, the groom." Dante extended his free hand, and I noticed Derek's slight flinch at the firm handshake. Dante Salvatore, the boyfriend. The way he said it, casual, possessive. Absolute made heat flood through my body. Derek's eyebrows shot up. "Boyfriend? Elena? I didn't know you were seeing anyone." "There's a lot you don't know about Elena anymore," Dante said smoothly. "That tends to happen when you walk away from something extraordinary." The words were pleasant, but there was an edge beneath them sharp enough to draw blood. Derek's jaw tightened, and I saw the flash of anger in his eyes, that old familiar need to be the most important man in any interaction. Bethany appeared at Derek's side, her smile brittle. "Elena, you look different." "Thank you." I smiled at her, channeling every ounce of confidence Dante's presence gave me. "You look lovely too. That dress is beautiful." It was, Safe, appropriate, expensive but understated. Everything Derek had wanted me to be. "How long have you two been together?" Derek asked, his eyes locked on Dante with poorly concealed suspicion. "Long enough," Dante replied, his thumb tracing small circles on my hip that were making it very difficult to concentrate. "Though with Elena, it feels like we've known each other forever. Don't you find that, Kara? When something is right, time becomes irrelevant." He looked down at me with such warmth, such genuine affection, that for a moment I forgot we were pretending, forgot that I'd met him barely 2 hours ago, forgot everything except the way he was looking at me like I hung the moon. "Yes," I whispered, and realized I meant it. Derek's face had gone red. "What do you do, Dante?" "I don't recognize the name Salvatore from any of the firms in the city." "I have business interests," Dante said vaguely. "Import, export, family enterprises. Nothing as impressive as corporate law, I'm sure." The way he said it made corporate law sound like the least impressive profession imaginable. I bit my lip to keep from smiling. "Import and export," Derek repeated, his tone skeptical. "That's rather vague." Dante's expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air around him. Something colder. More dangerous. "I find specificity boring," he said softly. "And Elena deserves better than boring. Don't you agree?" The implication hung in the air like a blade. Bethany tugged on Derek's arm. "Honey, we should greet the other guests. Your parents are looking for you." "Of course." Derek's smile was forced. "Elena, perhaps we can catch up later? I'd love to hear what you've been up to." "Perhaps," I said noncommittally. As they walked away, I felt Dante's chest rumble with quiet laughter. "Well done," he murmured, though I thought he might swing at me for a moment there. "Would you have let him?" "No." The answer was simple, absolute. "I don't let anyone touch what's mine." I turned to face him, suddenly very aware of how close we were standing. "I'm not actually yours, Dante. This is just pretend?" He tilted his head, studying me with those dark, dangerous eyes. "Is that what you're telling yourself, Elena?" Before I could answer, a waiter appeared with champagne. Dante took 2 glasses, handing me one with a smile that was pure sin. "To revenge," he said, raising his glass. "To revenge," I echoed, clinking my glass against his. The champagne was perfect, crisp, expensive, everything I'd expected, but it wasn't the alcohol that made my head spin. It was the way Dante was looking at me, like he could see straight through every defense I'd built. Like he knew exactly how fast my heart was racing. Like he was 2 seconds away from kissing me in front of everyone and didn't care who saw. "Dance with me," he said suddenly. "What?" "Dance with me." He set down both glasses and took my hand, already leading me toward the small dance floor where several couples swayed to the quartet's soft music. He's watching, and I want him to see exactly what he lost. My heart lodged in my throat as Dante pulled me into his arms, one hand at my waist, the other cradling my hand against his chest. We began to move, and I realized with a start that he was an excellent dancer. Smooth, confident, leading me effortlessly through the steps. "Where did you learn to dance like this?" I asked breathlessly. "Family requirement." His voice was close to my ear, intimate and rough. "My mother insisted, said a man who couldn't dance was a man without grace." "Smart woman." She was. Past tense. Something flickered in his expression, grief, quickly masked. "She would have liked you." The words shouldn't have meant anything. This was fake, temporary, a single night of pretend. So why did they make my chest ache? Dante spun me gently, then pulled me back against him closer now, close enough that I could feel the solid warmth of his body, smell that intoxicating combination of cologne and danger that seemed to define him. "Everyone's watching us," I whispered. "Good." His hand, splayed across my lower back, possessive and warm. "Let them watch. Let him watch. Let him see what he threw away." "Dante, you're trembling." "I know. Are you afraid?" I looked up at him, at those dark eyes that held secrets I didn't understand, and answered with complete honesty. "Yes, but not of Derek." His jaw tightened, and for a moment, something vulnerable flashed across his face. Something almost like regret. "You should be afraid of me, Elena," he said quietly. "If you knew, then tell me." "I can't." "Why not?" He pulled me impossibly closer, his lips brushing my temple in a gesture that felt far too real for pretend. "Because if I tell you the truth," he whispered, "you'll run. And I've just realized I don't want you to." My heart stopped. Started again, racing. This isn't real, I reminded myself. This is just for tonight. Dante's hand came up to cup my face, tilting my head back so I had no choice but to meet his eyes. The music swelled around us, but I couldn't hear anything except my own thundering pulse. Then maybe, he said softly, we should make tonight count. And as he lowered his head toward mine, as his lips hovered a breath away from my own, I realized with terrifying clarity that this had stopped being pretend the moment I'd taken his hand in that garage. I was falling for a man whose last name I'd learned an hour ago, a man who was clearly hiding something dark and dangerous, a man who looked at me like I was salvation and damnation wrapped in midnight blue silk. And God help me, I didn't want to stop. Time stopped. Dante's lips were a breath away from mine, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his skin, close enough that if I moved even an inch forward, we would cross a line neither of us could uncross. His eyes held mine, dark and intense, asking a question I wasn't sure I knew how to answer. Then someone cleared their throat loudly behind us. Dante's jaw clenched, and for just a second, I saw something dangerous flash across his face, pure controlled fury at the interruption. But when he stepped back, releasing me slowly like he was reluctant to let go, his expression had smoothed into polite indifference. I turned to find Derek standing there, his face flushed, his hands clenched at his sides. "May I cut in?" he asked, though his tone suggested it wasn't really a question. "I'd like to speak with Elena." "Alone." Dante's hand tightened on my waist. "That's up to the lady." They both looked at me, and I felt trapped between two very different kinds of danger. Derek, who represented everything safe and familiar and soul-crushingly ordinary, and Dante, who represented the unknown, thrilling and terrifying in equal measure. "It's fine," I heard myself say. "Just one dance." Dante's expression didn't change, but I felt the tension radiating from him. He leaned close, his lips brushing my ear as he whispered, "If he says anything that upsets you, look at me. I'll end this." The promise in his voice sent shivers down my spine. Then he was gone, moving toward the bar with that predatory grace, though I could feel his eyes on me even as Derek took his place. Derek's hands on my waist felt wrong. Too familiar and not familiar enough all at once. We began to move, but where dancing with Dante had felt like flying, this felt like obligation. "So," Derek said, his voice tight, "Dante Salvatore, that's quite the upgrade. Is that what you wanted to talk about? My boyfriend? Is he really your boyfriend, Elena? Or did you hire some model to make me jealous?" The accusation stung, even though it was partially true. "Does it matter?" "Yes, it matters." His voice rose slightly, and several nearby couples glanced our way. He lowered it, but the anger remained. "You show up here looking like that, with some mysterious stranger who won't say what he does for a living, and I'm supposed to just accept it? You don't have to accept anything. You're marrying. Bethany, remember? This is your engagement party. Don't." His fingers dug into my waist hard enough to hurt. "Don't act like you don't know what you're doing. Showing up here, throwing this in my face." "I'm not throwing anything in your face," I said coldly, pulling back slightly from his grip. "I'm moving on. That's what you wanted, wasn't it? For me to be less focused on you? Well, congratulations. Mission accomplished." "With him?" Derek's eyes darted toward Dante, who was leaning against the bar watching us with the stillness of a coiled snake. "You don't know anything about him. He could be dangerous. And you're concerned for my safety now? How thoughtful." "I'm serious, Elena. Something about him is off. The way he carries himself, that car, the watch he's wearing that's not normal. Men like that don't just appear out of nowhere." A chill ran down my spine because Derek was right. Dante was dangerous. I'd known it from the moment I'd met him. But the danger felt different than Derek made it sound less about physical harm and more about the way Dante made me feel things I'd never felt before. Alive. Seen. Wanted. "Maybe I like dangerous," I said quietly. Derek's face went red. "That's not you. You're practical. Sensible. You don't take risks. Maybe the old Elena didn't. But you made it very clear the old Elena wasn't good enough. That's not what I..." He stopped, frustration clear in every line of his body. "I never said you weren't good enough. I said we weren't compatible. There's a difference." "Is there?" I met his eyes, and for the first time since the breakup, I felt nothing. No pain, no longing, no regret, just emptiness where he used to matter. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you wanted someone who would shrink herself to fit into your life. And I couldn't do that, so you found someone who would. Bethany is perfect for you. I finished. I know. I'm happy for you, Derek. I really am. And the terrifying thing was, I meant it. The song ended, and I stepped out of his arms immediately. Derek grabbed my wrist, his grip tight enough to make me wince. Elena, wait. He searched my face, something almost like panic in his eyes. Are you really happy? With him? I looked across the room to where Dante stood, and found him already moving toward us, his expression dark and predatory. He'd seen Derek grab me, and he didn't like it. Yes, I said softly, realizing as I said it that I couldn't tell anymore where the pretend ended and the truth began. I am. Dante reached us in seconds, smoothly inserting himself between Derek and me. His hand found the small of my back, and the gesture felt like a claim, like a warning. Everything all right, Kara? His voice was pleasant, but there was steel beneath the silk. Perfect, I said, stepping closer to him instinctively. We're done here. Derek looked between us, something crumbling in his expression. Elena, congratulations on your engagement, Dante said, cutting him off with surgical precision. I'm sure you and your fiancé will be very happy together. Now, if you'll excuse us, I'd like to dance with my girlfriend, somewhere with fewer interruptions. He didn't wait for Derek to respond. His hand slid to my waist, and he guided me away from the dance floor, through the crowd, toward the glass doors that led to the terrace. The night air hit my overheated skin like a blessing. The terrace was empty, strung with fairy lights that cast everything in soft gold. The sounds of the party were muted here, just the distant music and the city sounds far below. Are you all right? Dante asked, his hands on my shoulders, his eyes searching my face with an intensity that made my knees weak. Did he hurt you? When he grabbed you? No, I'm fine. I let out a shaky breath. That was harder than I expected. You did beautifully. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, impossibly gentle. He knows he lost you. That's going to eat at him for a very long time. Good, I said, and meant it. Dante smiled, but it faded quickly. Elena, I need to tell you something. My heart stuttered. What? Earlier, when I almost kissed you. He stopped, his jaw working like he was fighting some internal battle. That wasn't for show. That wasn't about making your ex jealous. Then what was it about? He stepped closer, backing me gently against the terrace railing. The city lights glittered behind him, making him look like something out of a dream. Or a nightmare. I couldn't tell which anymore. It was about the fact that I've been thinking about kissing you since the moment you walked into my garage, he said quietly. About the fact that this stopped being pretend for me the second I saw you in that dress. About the fact that I want you, Elena. And not just for tonight. My breath caught. Dante, I know this is insane. I know you don't know me. I know I should walk away and let you go back to your life and forget this ever happened. His hand cupped my face, and his eyes were raw with something I didn't dare name. But I can't. I can't walk away from you. You're right, I whispered. This is insane. I don't know you. I don't know what you do or why you have that car or why people seem to recognize your name. I don't know anything except that when I'm with you, I feel more alive than I have in years. The confession tumbled out before I could stop it. Except that you make me feel seen in a way no one else ever has. Except that I don't want this night to end either. Dante's eyes darkened, and his thumb traced my lower lip with aching slowness. If I kiss you now, there's no going back. You understand that? I don't want to go back. Elena. Kiss me, Dante. For one endless moment, he just stared at me, conflict clear in every line of his beautiful, dangerous face. Then, his control shattered. His mouth crashed against mine, and the world exploded into sensation. He kissed me like a man drowning, like I was air and salvation and everything he'd been searching for. His hand slid into my hair, angling my head to deepen the kiss, and I melted against him, my fingers clutching at his jacket like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. This wasn't a gentle first kiss. This was desperation and desire, and something darker, something that felt like destiny and doom wrapped together. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante pressed his forehead against mine. God help me, he whispered roughly. I'm going to ruin you. Maybe, I breathed against his lips. Or maybe you'll save me. His laugh was broken. Beautiful. Terrified. You have no idea what you've just started, cara mia. And as he kissed me again, slower this time but no less consuming, I realized he was right. I had no idea what I'd started. But I knew, with terrifying certainty, that there was no going back now. We stayed on that terrace for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, wrapped in each other, the party forgotten behind the glass doors. Dante kissed me like he was memorizing every detail, slow, deep, consuming kisses that made my knees weak and my heart race. His hands were everywhere and nowhere all at once, tracing my spine, tangling in my hair, cupping my face with a gentleness that contradicted the intensity in his eyes. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. We should go back inside, he murmured, though he made no move to release me. People will talk. Let them talk. His smile was soft, almost sad. You say that now, but you don't know what kind of talk follows me, Elena. There it was again, that hint of darkness, of secrets lurking beneath his beautiful surface. Then tell me, I said, my hand still fisted in his jacket. Tell me who you really are, Dante Salvatore. He tensed, and I felt the moment he started to pull away, not physically, but emotionally, building walls I'd just barely begun to scale. Not here, he said quietly. Not now. When? Soon. He pressed a kiss to my forehead, and the tenderness of it made my chest ache. I promise. Just give me tonight. Let me have this one night where you look at me like I'm just a man, not... He stopped abruptly, his entire body going rigid. Not what? I pressed. But Dante wasn't looking at me anymore. His eyes were fixed on something beyond my shoulder, back toward the party, and his expression had gone cold, deadly. We need to leave, he said, his voice flat and commanding. Right now. What? Why? Don't argue. Trust me. He was already moving, his hand on my lower back, guiding me along the terrace away from the main entrance. Is there another way out of here? My heart hammered. The service entrance, probably. Down those stairs. Dante, what's happening? Someone I know just walked in. Someone who shouldn't be here. We descended the stairs rapidly, his body positioned, protectively between me and the terrace above. Someone who will ask questions I can't answer without putting you in danger. Danger? Dante, you're scaring me. We reached the ground level, a service area with industrial lighting and the smell of kitchen grease. Dante pulled out his phone, typing rapidly with one hand, while keeping the other firmly on my waist. I'm calling my driver. He'll meet us 2 blocks west. He looked at me, and there was something raw in his expression. Fear. Real, genuine fear. I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry. I should never have. Dante Salvatore. The voice came from behind us, smooth and cold as winter ice. Dante's entire body went still, and when he turned, keeping me partially hidden behind him, his expression was a mask I'd never seen before. Blank, emotionless, dangerous. A man stood at the top of the service stairs, tall, silver-haired, impeccably dressed in a suit that probably cost more than my car and the boutique dress combined. But it was his eyes that made my blood run cold. Pale blue, calculating, sharp enough to cut. And he was smiling. Lorenzo, Dante said, his voice devoid of emotion. I didn't realize you knew the happy couple. I don't. But I do know you have a habit of appearing in interesting places. Lorenzo descended the stairs slowly, deliberately, and when I heard whispers of Dante Salvatore at a society engagement party with a beautiful woman on his arm, well, I had to see for myself. His eyes slid to me, and I felt stripped bare under that gaze. Who's your friend? No one who concerns you. Dante's hand tightened on my waist. We were just leaving. Were you? Lorenzo reached the bottom of the stairs, and I noticed for the first time the 2 men flanking him, both large, both wearing expressions that suggested they were more than simple bodyguards. That's unfortunate. I was hoping we could have a conversation. About the shipment that went missing last week. About the territorial disputes on the shipment. Waterfront. About not. Here. Each word was bitten off, sharp as broken glass. Lorenzo's smile widened. Ah, she doesn't know, does she? Know what? I heard myself ask, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. Elena, don't. Dante started. Who her charming boyfriend really is, Lorenzo continued, ignoring Dante's warning. What he does for a living. Why men like me know his name and cross the street to avoid him. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. Dante? He didn't tell you? Lorenzo's laugh was cruel. How delightfully old-fashioned. Tell me, miss. Don't, Dante said, and there was violence coiled in that single word. Don't speak to her. Don't look at her. Don't even breathe in her direction, Lorenzo, or I swear to God. You'll what? Start a war over a woman? Lorenzo's eyes glittered with malicious amusement. How very unlike you, Dante, the cold prince of the Salvatore family, losing his composure over a pretty face. Salvatore family. The words echoed in my head, pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. The expensive car, the watch, the way Isabel had greeted him, the scars on his knuckles, the danger I'd sensed from the beginning. Oh God, I whispered. We're leaving, Dante said, pulling me toward the exit. Now. But Lorenzo stepped into our path, and his guards moved to flank us. I don't think so. You see, Dante, you've been avoiding my calls, and when a man like you avoids a man like me, it sends a message. The message is, I have nothing to say to you. Not even about the Moretti situation? Not even about the fact that your little unauthorized operation cost me $3 million in product? The air was suffocating. I didn't understand half of what they were saying, but I understood enough. Product, operations, territories. Dante wasn't just dangerous. He was exactly what Derek had suspected. Elena. Dante's voice was soft, urgent. I need you to walk out that door. Don't look back. Don't. Wait for me. Just go. I'm not leaving you. Please. He turned to look at me, and the desperation in his eyes broke something in my chest. Please, Kara. If you care about me at all, go. Now. Lorenzo laughed. How touching. But I'm afraid I can't let her leave just yet. After all, if she's important to you, Dante, then she's leverage. And I've been looking for leverage against the Salvatore family for quite some time. Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment he was beside me. The next, he had Lorenzo pinned against the wall, his forearm across the older man's throat, his voice a lethal whisper that still carried in the sudden silence. You don't touch her. You don't threaten her. You don't even think about her. Are we clear? The guards moved forward, but Lorenzo held up a hand, stopping them. His face was red, but he was still smiling. Crystal clear, he gasped. My apologies. I didn't realize she was that important. Dante released him slowly, stepping back but keeping himself between Lorenzo and me. She's not part of this world. She's innocent, and she stays that way. Of course. Lorenzo straightened his tie, his smile never wavering. But you should know, Dante innocence is a fragile thing, especially around men like us. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Lorenzo glanced at me one more time, and I saw something in his expression that made my skin crawl. Curiosity. Calculation. I'll be in touch. About the Moretti situation, do try to answer your phone next time. He walked past us toward the exit, his guards following. At the door, he paused. She's very beautiful, by the way. I can see why you'd risk everything. He smiled. I wonder if she'll still look at you the same way once she knows what your hands have done. Then he was gone, and I was left standing in a dingy service corridor with a man I'd kissed less than 10 minutes ago. A man who was clearly something far more dangerous than I'd imagined. Dante stood with his back to me, his shoulders rigid, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Dante, don't. His voice was rough, broken. Don't say anything. Not yet. I need to understand what just happened. I know. He turned slowly, and the look on his face devastated, furious, resigned made my heart crack. I know you do, and I'll tell you everything. Every terrible truth. But first I need to get you somewhere safe. Safe from what? His laugh was hollow. From me, Elena. From my world. From everything I should have protected you from by staying away in the first place. He pulled out his phone again, but I grabbed his wrist, forcing him to look at me. Tell me right now, I demanded, my voice shaking. Tell me who you are. What you are. Dante met my eyes, and I saw everything there: guilt, fear, anger, and something that looked heartbreakingly like love. My name is Dante Salvatore, he said quietly, and my family controls half the organized crime in this city. I'm not a mechanic, Elena. I'm a criminal, a killer when I have to be. The man your mother warned you about. The world tilted. And you, he continued, his voice breaking, just became the most dangerous weakness I've ever had. I should have run. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to turn around, walk out that door, and never look back. Dante Salvatore, criminal, killer, mafia boss, had just confessed to being everything dangerous and wrong in this world, but my feet wouldn't move. "Say something," Dante said, his voice raw. "Yell at me, slap me, tell me I'm a monster. Just say something, Elena." I don't know what to say. My voice came out steadier than I felt. I don't even know what questions to ask first. Ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth. All of it. You deserve that much. 1,000 questions swirled through my mind, but only one made it past my lips. "Did you know? When I walked into your garage, did you know you were going to pull me into this?" Pain flashed across his face. No. God, no. If I'd had any idea that Lorenzo would be at that party, that anyone from my world would see us together, I never would have agreed to this. I thought, he laughed bitterly, I thought I could have one night. One night of being just a man with a beautiful woman. I was selfish. And now you're in danger because of it. What kind of danger? The kind where you become leverage. His hands clenched at his sides. Lorenzo saw how I reacted when he threatened you. That makes you valuable. And in my world, valuable things get taken, hurt, used. The clinical way he said it made ice flood through my veins. So what happens now? Now I make sure you're protected until I can convince everyone in my world that you mean nothing to me. He wouldn't meet my eyes. That tonight was just a meaningless fling. That hurting you wouldn't affect me at all. And would it affect you? Finally, he looked at me, and the raw emotion in those dark eyes stole my breath. You know it. Would. You felt it on that terrace. This isn't fake anymore, Elena. Maybe it never was. My heart hammered against my ribs. I need to think. I know. And I'll give you space. But not here. Not now. His phone buzzed and he glanced at it. My driver is outside. Let me get you home. Make sure you're safe. Then you can decide if you never want to see me again. Dante, please. The word was barely a whisper. Let me do this one thing right. Against every instinct screaming at me to run, I nodded. The drive to my apartment was silent and suffocating. Dante sat rigid beside me in the back of a black SUV, driven by a man who looked like he could bench press a car. Every few seconds, Dante would glance at his phone, his jaw tightening with each message that appeared. "What is it?" I finally asked. "Damage control. My brother wants to know why Lorenzo is spreading word that I have a weakness. My father wants a meeting tomorrow morning." He set the phone down like it burned him. "My world is already closing in. Your family, they're all?" "Yes. The Salvatore family has controlled organized crime in this city for 3 generations. My grandfather built the empire, my father expanded it, and my brother and I..." He stopped, his voice going cold. "We maintain it, by any means necessary." "And the garage? Romano's auto repair?" A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "That's actually mine. A legitimate business, believe it or not. I bought it 5 years ago when the owner died and his daughter couldn't afford to keep it open. I like working with my hands. It keeps me grounded." "So you really are a mechanic?" "Among other things." He turned to look at me fully. "I've killed people, Elena. Not many. Not without reason. But I've done it. I've broken bones, destroyed lives, made decisions that kept me awake at night. I'm not a good man." "But you're not a monster either." His laugh was broken. "How can you possibly know that?" "Because a monster wouldn't have cared about making Derek regret losing me. A monster wouldn't have danced with me like I mattered. A monster wouldn't be trying so hard to protect me right now." I reached over and took his hand, and he flinched like the touch burned. "You're complicated, dangerous, probably going to break my heart, but you're not a monster. Elena, I'm not saying I'm okay with this. I'm not saying I understand or that I'm going to just accept that you're involved in organized crime like it's a normal career choice." My voice shook, but I'm also not going to pretend that everything I felt tonight wasn't real, that you didn't make me feel more alive in a few hours than I've felt in years. Dante's thumb traced circles on my palm, and his eyes held something that looked like hope and despair tangled together. "You're too good for this. For me. Maybe, but that's my decision to make, isn't it?" The SUV pulled up to my apartment, building a modest complex in a decent neighborhood that suddenly felt impossibly far from Dante's world of expensive cars and dangerous men. "Stay here," Dante instructed the driver before turning to me. "I'm walking you up." "That's not..." Necessary? Yes, it is. His voice left no room for argument. Until I'm sure you're safe, I'm not leaving you alone. We rode the elevator in tense silence. At my door, I fumbled with my keys, hyper-aware of Dante standing close behind me, his presence both comforting and terrifying. Inside, my apartment looked exactly as I'd left it this morning before my car broke down, before I walked into that garage, before my entire world tilted on its axis. Books on the coffee table, dishes in the sink. Normal, mundane, safe. Everything Dante wasn't. He did a quick sweep of the rooms, checking windows and locks with professional efficiency that reminded me exactly what kind of man he was. "You're clear," he said, returning to the living room. "But I'm posting someone outside, one of my men. You won't see him, but he'll be there." "Is that really necessary?" "Lorenzo knows your face. By tomorrow, he'll know your name." "Yes, it's necessary." He moved toward the door, then stopped, his back to me. "I meant what I said on that terrace, about not being able to walk away from you. But I'm giving you the choice I should have given you from the beginning." "What choice?" He turned, and the vulnerability in his expression made my chest ache. "Walk away, Elena. Block my number. Forget tonight ever happened. I'll make sure you're protected until the interest dies down, and then you can go back to your normal life. Find a good man. Someone safe. Someone who doesn't have blood on his hands. And if I don't want safe, then God help us both." He crossed the room in 3 strides, cupping my face with hands that trembled slightly. "Because once you're in my world, cara mia, there's no coming back from it. People will always know you were mine. You'll always have a target on your back. And I, his. I'll spend every day terrified of losing you." "You already lost me once," I whispered, "when you told me to leave that service corridor. And you came back." "I came back." Dante's forehead dropped against mine, and I felt him shaking this powerful, dangerous man, trembling like he was barely holding himself together. "I'm going to ruin you," he whispered. "Everything good and pure about you, I'm going to taint it just by being near you. Maybe I want to be ruined." His kiss was different this time. Desperate, almost reverent, like he was trying to memorize the taste of me. When he pulled back, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I have to go. Tomorrow morning, I have to meet with my father and my brother and explain why I've potentially started a war over a woman I met today." He managed a broken smile. "But tonight, if you'll let me, I want to stay. Just to know you're safe. I'll sleep on your couch. I won't touch you. I just... stay," I said, the word escaping before I could think better of it. "Not on the couch. With me, Elena. I'm not asking for anything except your presence. I don't want to be alone tonight. Not after everything." I took his hand. "Please." For a long moment, he just stared at me, conflict clear in every line of his face. Then he nodded. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." We lay in my bed fully clothed, the space between us charged and electric. Dante's arm was around me, and I could feel his heart hammering against my back, could hear the careful control in each breath he took. "Tell me something real," I whispered into the darkness. "Something true about you, that isn't about your family or your work." His hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. "I'm afraid of the dark. Have been since I was 7, when my father locked me in a closet for 3 hours as punishment for showing weakness." My heart broke. "Dante, I'm afraid of losing people I care about because I've lost too many already. My mother, my best friend, everyone I've ever let get close." His voice was raw. "And I'm terrified of you, Elena Cross. Terrified of how much I already feel for you. Terrified of what that means for both of us." I turned in his arms, finding his face in the darkness. "I'm terrified too. You should be. But I'm not running." His kiss was soft, achingly gentle. "You should. I know." And as we lay tangled together in the darkness, both of us clinging to something we knew was impossible and dangerous and completely insane, I realized I'd already made my choice. I was falling in love with a man who could destroy me, and I was going to let him. I woke to sunlight streaming through my bedroom window and the absence of warmth beside me. For a moment, I thought I dreamed it all. The party, the kiss, the revelation, Dante. Then I saw the note on my nightstand, written in sharp, elegant handwriting. "Had to leave early. Meeting with family. Don't go anywhere alone today. Marco is outside, tall, beard. Looks mean but isn't. He'll keep you safe. I'll call you soon. D below his initial was a phone number I didn't recognize. I picked up the note, my fingers tracing the letters like they could somehow bring him back. Last night felt like a fever dream wrapped in Dante's arms, listening to his heartbeat, feeling safer than I had any right to feel with a man who'd confessed to murder. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Sophia. How did it go? Did Derek die when he saw you? Tell me everything. I stared at the message, trying to figure out how to explain that, yes, Derek had been shocked, but that was now the least interesting thing that had happened last night. It was complicated. Can I call you later? Complicated how? Did you punch him? Please tell me you punched him. Despite everything, I smiled. No punching. Just met someone. I'll explain later. Promise. Wait, what? Who? Elena Cross? You can't just drop that and disappear. I set the phone down, unable to deal with Sophia's inevitable interrogation right now. Instead, I showered and dressed, trying to process everything that had happened in less than 12 hours. Dante Salvatore, Mafia prince, criminal, killer. The man who'd kissed me like I was oxygen. The man who'd trembled in my arms. The man who'd posted a guard outside my apartment to keep me safe from his own world. I was insane. That was the only explanation. Certifiably insane for not running as fast and as far as I could. My phone rang an unknown number. My heart jumped. Hello? Miss Cross. The voice was female, professional, cold. This is Victoria Chen, Derek's mother. We need to talk. Ice flooded my veins. Mrs. Chen, I'm not sure what we have to discuss. Don't play coy. You showed up at my son's engagement party with that man, caused a scene, and now there are rumors circulating about who he is, what he is. Her voice sharpened. Do you have any idea what kind of attention you've brought to our family? I didn't. The Salvatore name carries weight, Miss Cross. Very dark, very dangerous weight. And when Derek's business associates start asking why a known crime family member was at our celebration, it reflects poorly on us. My stomach twisted. I didn't know who he was. Not until. That's not an excuse. You need to end whatever involvement you have with that man immediately, for your own safety and for the reputation of everyone who knows you. With all due respect, Mrs. Chen, who I see isn't your concern anymore. Derek made that clear when he left me. The silence on the other end was frigid. You always were stubborn. I told Derek you weren't suitable, and this proves it. Good girls don't associate with criminals, Elena. Then I guess I'm not a good girl. I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking with adrenaline and anger. The phone rang again immediately. A different number this time. What? I snapped, assuming it was Mrs. Chen calling back. Someone's in a mood. Dante's voice was warm with amusement, and the sound of it made my heart skip. Rough morning? Derek's mother just called to lecture me about associating with your kind. I collapsed onto my couch. Apparently I've damaged their family's reputation. His laugh was dark. Good. They deserve worse for how they treated you. The humor faded. But she's not wrong to be concerned, Elena. My name does carry weight. The wrong kind. How did your meeting go? A long pause. It's ongoing. I stepped out to call you. My father wants to meet you. My blood ran cold. What? Don't panic. He's not going to hurt you. But word spread fast about Lorenzo's encounter with us. And my father doesn't like surprises. He wants to assess whether you're a genuine threat to family security or just. He stopped. Just what? Just a woman I'm involved with. His voice softened, which, for the record, is somehow more concerning to him than if you were a threat. He thinks caring about someone makes me weak. Does it? Terrifyingly so. I heard voices in the background, sharp and Italian. I have to go. But Elena? Don't leave your apartment. Not until I can come get you myself. Please. Dante, I have work tomorrow. I have a life. I can't just hide one day. Give me one day to sort this out, and then we'll figure out how you can have your life back while staying safe. The desperation in his voice made my chest ache. Please, Kara. Trust me on this. Okay, I whispered. One day. Thank you. I'll call you soon. He hung up, and I was left sitting in my apartment, feeling like a prisoner in my own life. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. I tried to work on some freelance design projects, tried to watch TV, tried to do anything except think about the fact that somewhere in the city, Dante was in a room with his crime family discussing me like I was a problem to be solved. Around noon, there was a knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw a massive man with a thick beard who matched Dante's description of Marco. I opened the door a crack, keeping the chain on. Yes. Lunch, Miss Cross. He held up bags from an Italian restaurant I recognized as one of the most expensive in the city. Mr. Salvatore wanted to make sure you ate. Despite everything, warmth flooded through me. Thank you. Marco's expression didn't change. I'll be right out here if you need anything. Don't answer the door for anyone else. He left the food and disappeared back to his post like a silent shadow. Inside the bags were containers of fresh pasta, salad, and tiramisu that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. And another note in Dante's handwriting. I know you hate being cooped up. I'm sorry. This will be over soon. Try the carbonara, it's from my mother's favorite restaurant. She would have liked you. I ate the carbonara and tried not to think about what it meant that he was sharing pieces of his dead mother with me after knowing me for barely 24 hours. Tried not to think about how dangerously deep I was falling for a man who lived in shadows. Tried not to think about the fact that no matter what happened next, my life would never be normal again. Around 6 p.m., my phone rang again. Dante's number. Hey, I answered, hating how eager I sounded. I'm outside. His voice was strained. Can I come up? I need to see you. Of course. Minutes later, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Dante looking like he'd been through war, his tie loosened, his hair disheveled, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. But when he saw me, something in his expression softened. Hi, he said simply. Hi. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. Then Dante stepped inside, closed the door, and pulled me into his arms with such desperate intensity that I gasped. I'm so sorry, he whispered into my hair. I'm so fucking sorry for dragging you into this. What happened? He pulled back just enough to cut my face, his thumbs brushing away tears I hadn't realized I'd shed. My father wants to meet you. Tomorrow night, dinner at the family estate. His eyes were dark with worry. And I have to prepare you for what that means. Tell me. It means he's testing you, testing us. Seeing if you'll run when faced with the full reality of what my family is. His jaw tightened. It means walking into the lion's den, knowing that they'll all be watching, judging, looking for weakness. And if I fail this test? Dante's expression went cold. Then he'll make you disappear from my life, one way or another. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. And if I pass? His hands trembled against my face. Then you become part of this world, permanently, protected but trapped. Free but watched. Mine but never truly safe. Those are terrible options. I know. His voice broke. And I'll understand if you choose neither. If you tell me right now to walk away and never come back. It would be the smart choice, Elena. The safe choice. I looked into his eyes, those dark, tormented, beautiful eyes, and knew I'd already made my choice the moment I'd let him stay last night. When do we leave tomorrow? I asked quietly. Relief and anguish warred on his face. 7 p.m. Wear something elegant but not flashy. My father values restraint. He pressed his forehead to mine. Are you sure about this? No, I admitted. I'm terrified. This is insane. But I'm not walking away from you, Dante. Not yet. You should. I know. His kiss was desperate, hungry, full of fear and need, and something that felt dangerously close to love. And as we stood in my doorway, clinging to each other like we were drowning, I realized the truth. I wasn't just falling for Dante Salvatore anymore. I'd already fallen, and God help me, there was no way back up. The Salvatore estate sat on the outskirts of the city like a fortress. High stone walls, iron gates that opened only after Dante pressed his thumb to a security panel. A driveway that wound through manicured gardens lit by subtle ground lighting that made everything look ethereal and dangerous all at once. Second thoughts? Dante asked, his hand finding mine in the darkness of the car. Too many to count. I squeezed his fingers. But I'm still here. He brought my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles that felt like a promise or a prayer. My father will try to intimidate you. My brother will try to charm you. And my uncle. He paused. Stay away from my uncle. He's the worst of all of us. Comforting. I'm not trying to comfort you, Kara. I'm trying to prepare you. His voice was tight with tension. These people are dangerous. Even to me. Especially to you. The mansion came into view, 3 stories of old-world elegance, all stone and tall windows glowing with warm light. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it looked like something from a Gothic novel. Haunted, hungry. A valet appeared to take the car, and Dante helped me out with a gentleness that contradicted the steel in his expression. I'd chosen a simple black dress, elegant, understated, exactly what he'd suggested. But standing here, looking up at the imposing structure, I felt underdressed for battle. Because that's what this was, a battle for survival. "Remember," Dante murmured as we climbed the stone steps. "You're mine. Act like it. Don't show fear. Don't apologize for existing. And for God's sake, don't let them see you flinch. What happens if I do? They'll eat you alive." The front door opened before we reached it, revealing a man who looked like an older, harder version of Dante. Same dark hair shot through with silver. Same sharp features. But where Dante's eyes held warmth beneath the danger, this man's eyes were cold as winter frost. "Dante." The man's voice was rough gravel. "You're late." "Traffic," Dante replied smoothly, his hand settling possessively on my waist. "Father, this is Elena Cross. Elena, my father. Dominic Salvatore." Dominic's gaze swept over me with the precision of a surgeon, taking in every detail. I forced myself to meet his eyes, to not look away, to not show the terror clawing at my throat. "Miss Cross." He didn't offer his hand. "My son has caused quite a stir over you." "I didn't ask him to," I said, surprised my voice came out steady. Something that might have been amusement flickered in Dominic's expression. "No, I don't suppose you did. Come. Everyone's waiting." He turned and walked into the house, leaving us to follow. The interior was exactly what I'd expected: old money and old power, dark wood, expensive art, the kind of furniture that had probably been in the family for generations. But beneath the elegance was something else, an undercurrent of violence, of secrets buried in beautiful things. We entered a dining room where a table that could seat 20 held only 5 place settings. 3 people waited, 2 men and a woman, all dressed for dinner like this was a normal family gathering instead of an interrogation. "About time," one of the men said, standing. He was younger than Dominic, closer to Dante's age, with the same sharp features but lighter eyes. "We were starting to think you'd run off with your mystery woman." "Luca." Dante's voice held warning. "Behave." Luca grinned, but there was nothing friendly in it. "I'm always on my best behavior, little brother." He turned to me, and his gaze felt like being x-rayed. "So you're the woman who's got my brother breaking protocol." "I'm Luca, the better-looking Salvatore." "Debatable," Dante muttered. The woman, elegant, probably in her 50s, with kind eyes that didn't match the hardness in her posture, stood next. "Elena." "I'm Margarita, Dominic's sister. Welcome to our home." "Thank you," I managed. The third man stayed seated, and when he looked at me, every instinct screamed danger. He was older than Dominic, thin as a blade, with eyes that held no warmth whatsoever. "And that's Marco Salvatore," Dante said, his body tense. "My uncle." "Charmed," Marco said, the word mocking. "Do sit down. I'm eager to see if you can survive dessert." Dante pulled out my chair, positioning himself between me and his uncle. As we sat, I felt the weight of every gaze on me, measuring, judging, waiting for me to break. Dinner began with the kind of forced civility that felt more dangerous than open hostility. "So, Miss Cross," Dominic said, cutting his steak with surgical precision. "What do you do?" "I'm a freelance graphic designer, corporate branding mostly." "How ordinary," Marco said. "And you met my nephew where?" "Exactly." "At his garage." I met his eyes, refusing to look away. "My car broke down." Luca laughed. "You picked up a woman at Romano's?" "That's actually beneath even you, Dante." "I didn't pick her up," Dante said coldly. "We met. We talked. We started a potential incident with the De Luca family?" Dominic interrupted, his voice sharp as a knife. "Lorenzo called me personally, Dante. Very interested in your new friend." The temperature in the room dropped. "I've handled Lorenzo," Dante said. "Have you?" Dominic set down his silverware, and the sound echoed like a gunshot. "Because from where I sit, you've made yourself vulnerable. And in our world, vulnerability gets people killed. She's not part of this. She is now." Dominic's gaze fixed on me. "The moment Lorenzo saw her with you, the moment he realized she matters, she became a target. A liability, a weakness we can't afford. Then we protect her, Dante said, his voice steel. Or, Marco said softly, we eliminate the problem. The words hung in the air, and my blood turned to ice. Dante's chair scraped back as he stood, his hand moving inside his jacket. If you so much as, sit down, Dominic commanded, and something in his voice made even Dante obey. No one is eliminating anyone, yet. His eyes found mine again, but I need to. Understand, Miss Cross, what exactly my son means to you, because if this is just infatuation, a rebellion against whatever safe life you had before, then you need to leave now, before you get hurt, before you get him hurt. My heart hammered. Every survival instinct screamed at me to lie, to downplay, to make myself small and unthreatening. Instead, I thought of Dante trembling in my arms, of the way he'd kissed me like I was salvation, of the broken, beautiful man beneath the monster everyone else saw. I don't know what he means to me yet, I said quietly. We barely know each other. But I know that when I'm with him, I feel more alive than I ever have. I know he makes me want to be braver than I am. And I know that walking away from him feels impossible, even when it's the smart choice. Silence. Then Margarita smiled. Good answer. It's a foolish answer, Marco said. Love makes you stupid, gets you killed. Maybe, I agreed, meeting his cold gaze. But I'd rather be stupid and alive than smart and dead inside. Dante's hand found mine under the table, squeezing tight. Dominic studied me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, finally, he nodded. You have spine. I'll give you that. He turned to Dante. All right. You want to keep her? Fine. But she follows protocol. 24-hour security. No public appearances without approval. And she learns how this family works. Our rules. Our consequences. Agreed, Dante said immediately. I'm not finished. Dominic's voice hardened. If she becomes a liability, if she puts this family at risk, if she proves to be more trouble than she's worth, she's gone. Permanently. Are we clear? Crystal, Dante said, his jaw tight. Good. Dominic picked up his wine glass. Now, let's discuss the Lorenzo problem. And Miss Cross? He looked at me. Pay attention. This is your education. Welcome to the family business. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of discussions about territories, shipments, and rival families. They talked about criminal enterprise like it was any other business, investments and returns, risk management, and hostile takeovers. And through it all, Dante's hand stayed locked with mine beneath the table, an anchor in churning waters. By the time dessert arrived, tiramisu that tasted like ashes in my mouth, I was exhausted from the constant vigilance, from pretending I wasn't terrified, from acting like learning about drug routes and protection rackets was normal dinner conversation. You did well, Margarita said quietly as the men moved to the study for cigars and whatever darker discussions happened after dinner. Better than most. I don't feel like I did well. You're still breathing. That's well enough. She touched my arm gently. A word of advice? Don't try to change him. Don't try to save him. If you're going to love a Salvatore, love all of him. Even the dark parts. Especially the dark parts. Did you love one of them? Her smile was sad. I married one. Lost him to this life. But for a while, for a while it was beautiful. She squeezed my arm. Just remember in this world, Elena, love is the most dangerous weapon of all, because it's the only thing that can truly destroy us. She left me alone in the dining room, surrounded by the remnants of a meal that tasted like my last moment of normal. And when Dante returned, his expression tight with whatever had been discussed in that study, I let him pull me into his arms. Take me home, I whispered against his chest. I will, I promise. He kissed the top of my head. But Elena? After tonight, home isn't just your apartment anymore. It's wherever I can keep you safe, even if that means you start to hate me for it. I looked up at him, at this beautiful, broken, dangerous man who'd somehow become my whole world in 3 days. I could never hate you, I said. His smile was devastated. Give it time, cara mia. Give it time. The drive back to my apartment was silent, but it was a different kind of silence than before. Charged, heavy, electric. Dante's hand rested on my thigh, his thumb tracing small circles through the fabric of my dress. Neither of us spoke, but I could feel everything he wasn't saying in the tension radiating from his body, in the tightness of his jaw, in the way his eyes kept finding mine in the darkness. We'd survived dinner with his family, survived their scrutiny, their threats, their cold assessment of whether I was worth the trouble. And now we were alone. Marco was still posted outside my building, a silent shadow keeping watch. But for the first time since this began, Dante and I would have privacy, real privacy. The elevator ride felt eternal. Dante stood behind me, close enough that I could feel the heat of his body, could hear each carefully controlled breath. When his hand settled on my hip, possessive and warm, I stopped breathing altogether. Elena. My name was a rough whisper. If you want me to leave tonight, tell me now. Because once we're inside, once I have you alone, I don't want you to leave. I turned in his arms, meeting his dark, desperate gaze. I want you to stay. I want you to. The elevator doors opened, and whatever I was about to say died as Dante's mouth crashed against mine. This kiss was different from all the others. This wasn't gentle or reverent or careful. This was need and desperation and 3 days of mounting tension finally breaking free. His hands tangled in my hair as he backed me toward my apartment door, never breaking contact, like he couldn't bear even a breath of distance between us. I fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped them. Dante took them from me, unlocking the door with surprising steadiness for a man who was kissing me like I was air and he was drowning. We stumbled inside, and he kicked the door shut behind us, pressing me against it with his body. His hands were everywhere, tracing my sides, gripping my waist, sliding up my back, to find the zipper of my dress. Tell me to stop, he breathed against my lips. Tell me this is too fast, that you need time, that you're not ready. Tell me anything, Elena, because I'm barely holding on here. Don't stop. My fingers clutched at his jacket, pulling him closer. Please, Dante, don't stop. Something snapped in him at my words. He lifted me effortlessly, my legs wrapping around his waist as he carried me toward the bedroom. Between kisses, he murmured in Italian words I didn't understand, but that sounded like prayers and curses and promises all tangled together. In the bedroom, he set me down gently, his hands cupping my face as he looked at me with such raw intensity that my knees went weak. You're sure? His voice was rough, vulnerable. Because once this happens, cara mia, there's no going back. You'll be mine, completely. And he swallowed hard. I don't know how to love people halfway. I don't know how to be gentle with things I care about. I'm going to consume you, ruin you, make you mine in ways that will mark you forever. Then mark me. I reached for his tie, loosening it with trembling fingers. Ruin me, consume me. I don't care anymore, Dante. I just want to feel alive. His control shattered. Later, much later, we lay tangled in my sheets, both breathing hard, both trembling from what had just passed between us. It had been intense, overwhelming, beautiful and terrifying all at once. Dante had been exactly what he'd promised, consuming, demanding, impossibly tender even in his passion. He'd touched me like I was precious and claimed me like I was his salvation. And somewhere in the darkness and heat and desperate need, I'd surrendered completely. Not just my body, my heart, my soul. Every carefully guarded piece of myself I'd sworn never to give away again. Now, lying in his arms with his heartbeat thundering beneath my ear, the reality of what I'd done crashed over me. I'd fallen in love with a criminal, given myself to a man who'd killed people, tied my life to someone whose world could destroy me. What are you thinking? Dante asked softly, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. I can hear your thoughts spinning. That I'm insane. I turned to look at him, at this beautiful, dangerous man who'd become my entire world in less than a week. That this is the most reckless thing I've ever done. That I should be terrified. Are you? Terrified? Yes. I pressed my palm against his chest, feeling his heart race. But not of you. Of losing you. Of what loving you might cost. His arm tightened around me, and when he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. It will cost you everything, Elena. Your old life, your safety, your peace. Everyone you were before tonight, she's gone now. Because people know you're mine, and in my world, that makes you valuable, dangerous, a target. I know. And you're staying anyway? I thought about the past 3 days. About Derek and his perfect, safe, soul-crushing life. About who I'd been before my car broke down on 7th Avenue, going through the motions, feeling nothing, existing but not living. Then I thought about Dante, about the way he looked at me like I hung the stars, About his broken confessions in the darkness. About the man beneath the monster. About how alive I felt when I was with him. "Yes," I whispered. "I'm staying." Dante's breath hitched, and when he kissed me this time, it was soft, reverent, like I was something holy he didn't deserve but couldn't help worshipping anyway. "I love you," he said against my lips, the words raw and terrified. "I know it's too soon. I know it's insane. But I love you, Elena Cross. I think I loved you from the moment you walked into my garage looking lost and desperate and so goddamn beautiful I forgot how to breathe." Tears slid down my cheeks. "I love you too. God help me, I do." He rolled us over, hovering above me, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "Then let me do this. Right. Let me court you properly. Dinner, movies, normal things. Let me show you. I'm more than just the darkness. I already know you are, but I want you to see it. To have memories that aren't tainted by my family or my world or the violence that follows me." His thumb brushed away my tears. "I want to give you everything you deserve, cara mia. Even if I'm the last thing you should want. You're exactly what I want." I pulled him down for another kiss, dark parts and all. We made love again slower this time, tender and achingly sweet. And afterward, wrapped in each other with the first light of dawn creeping through my windows, Dante told me stories about his mother, about the garage, about the man he might have been in a different life. And I told him about my dreams, my fears, my hopes for a future that now included him. "What happens now?" I asked, as the sun painted the room in shades of gold. "After tonight? Now." Dante pressed a kiss to my temple. "Now I teach you how. To survive in my world. How to protect yourself. How to navigate the dangers that come with being mine. And his voice broke. "I spend every day trying to be worthy of the gift you've given me." "What gift?" "Your trust. Your love. Your faith that I'm more than what I've done." He looked at me, and the vulnerability in his eyes stole my breath. "No one's ever believed in me like you do, Elena. No one's ever looked at me and seen something worth saving." "That's because you are worth saving." His laugh was broken. "We'll see. My world has a way of destroying beautiful things. Then we'll just have to be stronger than your world. Together? Together?" I promised. As we drifted off to sleep in each other's arms, the morning sun warming our tangled bodies, I thought about fate, about broken-down cars and chance encounters, about asking a stranger to be my fake boyfriend and finding my soulmate instead. I thought about Derek's party and how desperate I'd been to prove I'd moved on. And I realized with startling clarity that I had moved on, just not in the way I'd expected. I'd moved from existing to living, from safety to danger, from loneliness to love. I'd found my person in the last place I should have looked, in the arms of a man whose world was built on violence and secrets and blood. But as Dante's breathing evened out, and his hold on me tightened even in sleep, like he was afraid I'd disappear, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I'd asked a mechanic to pretend to be my boyfriend for a day. And somehow, impossibly, I'd fallen in love with the Mafia boss underneath. There was no going back now, no return to the woman I'd been before. I was Dante Salvatore's, now marked, claimed, irrevocably his. And God help me, I wouldn't have it any other way. End epilogue. 6 months later. The garage smelled like motor oil and coffee, exactly the way I'd come to love it. I sat at the desk in the small office, working on a rebranding project for one of Dante's legitimate businesses because, yes, he had those too, and he'd asked me to put my design skills to use helping modernize the family's public face. It was strange. This life I'd built, half legitimate, half shadow. Days spent designing logos and websites. Evenings spent at family dinners where business discussions included things I still didn't fully understand but no longer flinched hearing. Marco still scared me. Dominic still tested me. But Margarita had become an unexpected friend, and even Luca had grudgingly accepted that I wasn't going anywhere. And Dante, there's my beautiful girl. I looked up to find him in the doorway, grease-stained and gorgeous, smiling at me like I was the best thing he'd ever seen. 6 months, and he still looked at me like that. 6 months of learning his world, of accepting the security detail, of understanding what it meant to love a Salvatore. 6 months of being utterly, completely, dangerously happy. "How's the Mustang coming?" I asked, as he crossed to me, pulling me up from the chair and into his arms. "Fixed. Running like a dream." He kissed me softly. "Just like you fixed me. You're not broken, Dante. I was. Before you." His hands cupped my face. "You saved me. Cara mia. Every day, you save me. I thought about that day 6 months ago when my car had broken down 3 blocks from Derek's party. About the desperate question I'd asked a stranger in a garage. Can you pretend to be my boyfriend for a day? I'd asked for pretend. I'd gotten forever instead. I love you, I whispered. I love you more. He smiled against my lips. Even if you did ruin me for anyone else. Good, I said. That was the plan all along. His laugh filled the garage, warm and real and free. And as he kissed me, surrounded by the smell of motor oil and coffee, in the place where this impossible love story had begun, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best things in life start with a breakdown. And sometimes, the most dangerous question is the one that changes everything. Can you pretend to be my boyfriend? No, Dante Salvatore couldn't pretend. But he could love me with a ferocity that made the whole world disappear. And that was worth every risk, every danger, every impossible, beautiful moment of this life we'd built together.